Oh, it's a miserable day here in far north Queensland. You can see there's a lot of grey sky out there, and top temperature today of 22 degrees. As you can see, I'm actually wearing my wind cheater. I know you probably think I'm a total wuss, anybody down in the southern states. The top temperature in Melbourne, for instance, today for the weekend is actually going to be 13 degrees on both days. 22 here. Now that is extremely cold for us. Usually about the lowest temperature you're going to get here would be about 23 in June, but this is not June, it's actually May, so this is quite unprecedented. And it's even colder down in Townsville. So yeah, it's wet, there's a bit of spit, a lot of grey. It feels very wintry and yeah, quite unusual. We've had a lot of rain. Actually, to brighten up your day though, can report I've seen an excellent TV show just the last few days, and it's called The Great, and it stars Elle Fanning and Nicholas Ho, I think it is, Nicholas Ho, and a couple of great actors. Really interesting storyline, very well written, and actually created by an Aussie. So that's a big surprise. Again, John McNamara, I think his name is, and so I've never heard of him before, but he's done a few shows in Australia. I don't generally watch the local product, so yep, that's my loss. Because it's a very good show. It's sort of loosely based on Peter the Great. I think it's actually his son is the Emperor of Russia, so he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder because he sort of hasn't risen to the heights of his father, and militarily the Russians are getting their asses kicked by the Swedes. He's not happy with Sweden at all, and he's basically incredibly privileged and has absolutely no empathy with common people, and is quite happy to wield his power. As I say, a very good performance by the young actor, English actor, and Elle Fanning is excellent as Catherine the Great. Well, she's not great yet, she's actually going to be great, presumably. I'm only halfway through the series, but she's putting in a fantastic performance. A lot of empathy, a lot of comedy, a lot of intrigue, a lot of debauchery. It's got everything, this show. It's really entertaining and very interesting. And of course the creator is smart enough to say that it's just basically very loosely based on true events, so it's just using it as a basis to start from. I think that's a smart move, so it gives them lots of scope. They can basically do anything they want, and just uses an interesting backdrop of having a period drama, costume drama, but with a real twist. So yeah, I'd say this is a must-see. Very good to see. There's some good shows around. As I mentioned in my previous video, there's another one called Upload. That's an excellent series as well, and there's so many hackneyed, cliched productions made these days. Lots of remakes and sequels, and just no creativity, but Upload was really refreshing. Just people sort of having died and then be preserved in the afterlife in a virtual world, that they have to pay for it, and there's actually a status level there as well. There's a pecking order depending how much you pay, so you've got to pay to keep playing in your afterlife. So it sucks to a certain extent, but it makes a quite interesting drama, and it had a great killer ending too, I won't reveal. And again, the cast were very good. It had the standard romance, none of this woke garbage, just entertaining, really good entertainment, but cleverly written with interesting storylines. A must-see in my opinion. So yeah, there's been some really good entertainment, which is fantastic considering we're all sort of locked down at the moment. And you know, I feel sorry for people in the southern states can't come up here during the normal winter break to get away from the incessant greyness and cold. It's just ridiculous. But you know, it gives me another opportunity to give Anastasia Palaszczuk a good kick up the arse, which I think she really needs, and her boss, who is Jeanette Young. That's really the real premier, the real power behind the throne. So it's actually, it does have some similarities to the Russian court. I think maybe that's what's happening in Brisbane, in the Labor Party in power here at the moment. A lot of similarities. So yes, that's wanted to mention that. But gee, look at this. It's just, hopefully it won't rain. That's about the only thing I can hope for. It's not super cold, but of course it's 22 is not really cold, but it's certainly nippy compared to what we're used to. So I know it sounds pathetic, but it's all relative, and you do get used to certain things like this. We did have a little bit of sun yesterday, actually. I got myself some Bushmills Irish whiskey, and that was quite nice. About the same price as the Jameson's, actually slightly lower. They've put the price up. I'm noticing the prices of things are going up a bit, you know. There's a lot of things. Oh, another thing I actually bought myself another mouse through eBay from the same place I'd bought before. You know, when after I'd gone paid for it and went on the payment screen, I noticed it said delivery would take place in early to mid-July. And I'm thinking, what? How come it's so late? Because last time I bought the mouse from this seller, it was based in Australia. So I look it up, and now guess what? Based in China. So that really crapped me off, because you know how a lot of Aussies feel about China right now. Not exactly flash. Oh, there's something unique. A police sign in Cairns. You never believe you'd see one of those. So yeah, so I was a bit pissed off about that, apart from the fact that I didn't need it right now, but you know, still a long wait. And as I say, I don't like buying anything Chinese right now. It makes me feel dirty, to be quite frank, and a bit unpatriotic. So it was only 11 bucks, but I'll have to check carefully with eBay where these places are situated. I was just stiff because I'd bought it from before. I didn't bother looking at the details. I thought, oh well, I know where they're located, but no. And speaking of China, it's amazing that the ambassador to China that's based in Canberra, I mean, he acts more like a hitman than an ambassador. Ambassadors are people are supposed to schmooze the locals and get them on side. This guy just basically calls us crap and expects us to lick his shoes. Well, I'll tell you what, I think the Chinese are in for a bit of a shock, because a lot of countries are going to get pretty pissed off with them. They're basically going to have the same status as America used to have as the imperial power that everybody hated. I think it's now shifting towards China. I think everybody's getting crapped off with it. And if they want to be basically isolated internationally, they're going about it the perfect way. So personally, stuff them. I say don't buy Chinese if you can avoid it. That's my personal choice, and I would encourage other Australians to follow that. And I mean, if they want to also threaten us with iron ore, they need that iron ore. I think their only other supplier is Brazil, who is much more of an unreliable supplier than we are. Well, we should just say, stuff you can't have our iron ore. We'll find some other market for it. We may lose some money out of it, but you know, I think in this case, pride is worth something, and maybe we do need to rethink everything in Australia right now. I mean, there's a lot of corruption happening with the universities, with all the Chinese money and the students coming in. There's a guy in Brisbane fighting a legal case because about freedom of speech, and the bloody university's jacking up against him and trying all dirty tactics to basically get rid of him. And it's just disgraceful, because they're influenced by the Chinese, because they've got the money. It's them. So what happens under the table that's important, you know, and money buys influence. And unfortunately, a lot of our universities now have been totally corrupted by this money, and it's bloody, it's not a healthy situation. It's rife for corruption. There you go, this is a bit of a streetscape Saturday around midday. Hopefully I'll see a green light soon. and get close to the old supermarket. Hopefully it won't be too busy because a few people might be put off by the weather. But yeah, I've got to eat, got to get some greens and stuff. Probably got enough to get by, but I want to get my tonic water so I can have my G&Ts again. So even though the Bushmills Irish whiskey was very nice and it was a nice change from Jameson, slightly different flavour, still I do like my G&Ts. God, those diesel buses, whoa, a few decibels going in convoy. Yeah, so yeah, a few things to think about, but at least, like I said, at least there's some bright spots with entertainment, and that's good. But we won't have as many options with news shows because production is being suspended or ceasing production altogether because of the coronavirus, which you know, they're doing. I think that the Americans are really getting fed up with it all, and there's been a lot of people now protesting and putting pressure on their elected reps. I noticed that the latest group of polls that are coming out with local elections, they seem to have basically gone to Republicans. So the Democrats are the ones more likely to lock down a state more severely, and I think they're paying the price. And I might want to learn a few lessons. People do value their freedom, and they don't want to be incarcerated for too long. So, you know, they want to think about what they're doing for their own good. Well, mind you, I don't really care because I don't like them much anyway. I think they're privileged and out of touch, and I couldn't give a stuff about them. But if they want to have self-preservation, they need to rethink their policies, in my opinion. But again, I don't care if they go down in flames. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you, or entertainment, or whatever. And either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great. But please don't ignore me. That's the worst thing you can do on YouTube, is be ignored.